What is up, everybody? Saltiest Gaming. We're back with another podcast. TSP episode 22. What is up?
What's up? What's up, guys?
Native
What's up,
pops in
everyone?
right after I do the intro.
Big time.
So
Perfect
without,
timing.
how's you guys' day going? I know we're all a little bit tired. I almost got caught up in a government scam where they almost took me away and started probing me, but I came away from that unscathed, luckily. So if you want to know about that, just DM me and I'll tell you the details. All right. So anyway, we got a special guest here. Bloody Knuckles, what is up, my friend? How's it going?
What's up, Salty? Thank you for having me out here, man. It's a good time. Good time to be out here.
Yeah, man, I've been listening to some podcasts that you're on, and I've been blown away with your professionalism and the way you talk about games. I enjoy what you have to say. Yeah, you've been on GRG. You have your own podcast, Smash Podcast, that you started October 2017. So I figured, hey, let's get like minds together because that's always a good thing. And let's talk about some games. So, it's a good time to do that. Anyway, just to let you guys know, this is a special event. It's not like we're switching the podcast over to Thursdays. As you know, the Super Bowl is going on this Sunday. So, we're not trying to compete with the Super Bowl. So we're doing this podcast. We got a lot of good news to talk about, a lot of good topics, and I'm excited to get into it. But before we begin, Bloody, could you talk about your gaming background? Just let everybody know where you started and how you got to where you are right now.
Well, when I grew up, I was always different from a lot of my families because my family was always big on sports. Me, I wasn't the athletic type. So I was more of a nerd growing up. I got caught up in cartoons, in the early days of like Pokemon. So I got a Nintendo Game Boy way back in the day, had the original Pokemon games, got a PlayStation and played the early days of things, Crash Bandicoot growing up, Spyro, all of the wrestling games kind of growing up. And as I got older, I stuck with that PS2, got a GameCube, got an N64 way late in the life. And as the newer generation came around, I got a 360, PS3, then got an Xbox One, just kind of played all over the place, man. Always trying something new.
That's awesome, dude. So you've been the gamer type your whole life, huh? I think that's pretty much the status quo for a lot of us. I myself started back on the Atari and moved my way up. I was a Nintendo dude and then Xbox and stuff like that. But
yeah,
we're happy to have you here, and we have some great topics. I'm excited to see, hear what you have to say about them. Jay Fonz, what's up, how you doing, man?
I'm tired as shit. Can't wait to talk about all these great topics tonight. So we'll get into that, I guess, in a little bit. But yeah, I'm tired, and I don't know if you heard, but I'm like one of the most hated people in the Xbox community right now after RDX's show on Tuesday. So all about that Sea of Thieves life for some people, it seems.
Yeah, the saying goes, if you don't die a hero, you live long enough to become the villain, right? Is that the saying, or I screwed it up? But
if I'm a villain, so be it. I will embrace it. I will embrace the dark side.
Look, I kind of see where you're coming from Jay Fonz. Like, it is a game that really does. It is a make your own adventure. Like, but this you gotta remember too is that this is just the beta. We're only getting some of it. If you've listened to some of the streams that the devs have come out, there's a lot more coming. But again, it's still not going to be a game that appeals to everyone. Just like even big budget games like Gears and everything else, that doesn't appeal to everyone. So if it does, it's not your thing. It's not your thing. I don't think you should be vindicated for it.
The game sucks.
I gotta stop you right there, buddy. I gotta stop you right there. Don't you ever say anything negative about Gears of War 4 again.
Hey, whoa. I didn't say anything bad about Gears of War. I love Gears of War, and 4 was great. I love what they did with it. I'm just saying that even still, it's not going to be a series for everyone unless you're into those big cinematographic games and big shooters like that. It won't always appeal to you.
Oh, no, I completely understand. I'm just pulling your chain.
Basically, Native's just a dick.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's irrelevant, isn't it?
Hey, we asked Native to put a condom on before he enters the show because he's just one big dick, right?
I'm wearing a beanie, close enough,
man.
huh?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you just wear a trash bag? Isn't that going to be enough?
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Thanks for rushing
Wow.
home, Native. We're looking forward to the troll mannerisms and such. Punk, what's up, man? What's going on, dude?
Not too much, man. Long work week. Feel like it's never gonna end. Thank God it's Friday tomorrow. I know a lot of us are waiting towards that. Unless you work weekends, and that sucks. But I've been there plenty of times considering I just came to a Monday through Friday job recently. But nah, man, staying up way too late lately this last week, more than I should be. Hop back into the division. Next thing I know, it's 1:30 in the morning. I got to go to damn bed. It's been rough, man. It's been rough.
So you do you think the division's taken over for Destiny for you? Obviously,
Yeah, it definitely is, man. I was playing with my brother-in-law. He's like showing me everything. It's been so long since I played that game. I mean, like the basics are still there, but there's so much more to do. It's kind of unreal.
yeah, I don't know, man. The division was cool. I tried to get back into it. I after the the updates and stuff, but there's Monster Hunter World, so that's my
Yeah.
addiction now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The funny thing about it, though, man, I didn't even. Apparently, my brother-in-law came over because I was getting a mattress delivered. Next thing I know, he's like, "Yeah, I'm playing the division." I'm like, "Oh, you brought your disc over?" He's like, "No, you have it downloaded." I do not ever remember buying that game digitally, but I mean, sweet that I did. It's there. That's kind of funny.
So the chat's curious about the beard situation. Okay, I can tell you a little. I'll tell you a little bit about it. There's like kind of a little contract you signed. So my buddy in the chat, I don't know, it's Exhausted Father or Shameless. He's my game share buddy. He told me about this study going on, and that you can get $500 for it. I'm like, okay. It piqued my interest. He's like, yeah, you just have to shave your beard and do some other stuff. I'm like, okay, sounds easy. So I went there today, North Phoenix, way far away out in the desert. And first sign was Google Maps is like, all right, your destination's on the right, and it's a desert, right? And I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem right. I called my buddy. I'm like, where is this thing? He's like, oh, it's a gated compound. I'm like, okay. So I drive in, go underground a little bit, and there's a tunnel. There's a compound with a fence, and you have to like check in with a guard. And it's pretty much like you're checking yourself into prison, right? And I was telling some people there, I was like, if this was at night, I would have turned around, but it felt like I was going to get abducted and thrown into a truck. But long story short, we did some tests, and they shaved my beard for the second part of the test, and then I lived to tell about it. But yeah, good times, right?
No alien probing or anything.
Yeah,
That's what Lunch Bizzle just said in the chat.
If there was probing, do you think I'd talk about it? I'd be a little bit too embarrassed to talk about it, right?
We may not know.
Man.
Look, you can be like Randy Marsh, who's telling everyone about it because he knows it's going on, man. Got to open people's minds.
I mean, I live to talk about it, so that was the experience for the day, and we'll see if those checks really do come in the mail. Supposedly they will. So good times. Shout out to everybody in the chat. There's lots of people: Chris, Cobra Elite, Lex Hazard. The traditional people for supporting. I saw Predator in there, Stinking Corpse, Exhausted Father, Rome S, PSN down. If I miss you, I'm sorry. Hit that like button, guys. Let's get that up to 20 likes. So let's get into the first topic. It's February, the calendar month changed, and we got some good offerings for games with gold and Xbox Game Pass. We're going to kind of lump those together and talk about them real quick. If you guys didn't know, with Game Pass, they added some titles like Fable Anniversary, Halo Wars 2, NBA 2K17, W2K17, Darksiders 2, the Definitive Edition, Rhyme. So let's talk about the Game Pass offering, because as we know, there was a huge announcement about them adding exclusives day one. But I'm like blown away by the offerings in Game Pass. Like, first of all, I have a couple months free because I got the Xbox One X, and there's a free trial there. And I think I got the $1 offer when it was on sale. But I keep playing these games that I wouldn't have bought without Game Pass. And this month is no different. Like, I wanted to try Halo Wars 2. but it's not a game I would have bought. Fable Anniversary, I want to try out. I have 2K17. Darksiders 2 looks good, and then that Rhyme game looks fantastic. What do you guys think of the offering for the month for Game Pass?
I'll go ahead and start off.
Yeah,
Is that
okay.
it's definitely a great change that we're constantly seeing that change out on games coming in and coming out, and seeing the longevity of some of these that are staying in there. And every time they always add in a new one, they always add in a good amount, from 5 to 6 or more, and they're always of different genres. They're not all the same thing, so you're getting oversaturated with everything. Because Rhyme, being a big kind of an open world adventure game, but has such beautiful story and a beautiful artistic style, you get in that. Then you get in an RTS with Halo Wars, which had a fairly good story from what I've heard, and a lot of people still enjoyed it if you enjoyed the first one. And then, you know, getting Fable Anniversary, and Fable itself coming into the Game Pass is probably the best time right now to get people back into Fable, especially with all the talks of the new possible Fable coming out. I think really letting them see the foundations, because the Anniversary Edition was a great redux of the original that came back out in 2004 on the original Xbox. So it's a great time to really start putting out that kind of drive and see the interest that's still out there for a game like Fable.
True. Fable Anniversary, I thought the exact same thing when I saw it. It's kind of revving up interest. There's other Fable games in Game Pass right now. Do you have Game Pass right now, or
I do have Game Pass. I actually have a couple of the free months as well when I got my ex, because I have mine and my roommate got his, but he didn't want the Game Pass, so he gave me his free month. So I have two of them that I've been putting aside to wait for a good time to use them.
Native, what do you think of the offerings this month for Game Pass, brother?
They're great. I love. I actually was not gifted. I traded a game that I had just laying around. I traded that with a buddy of mine. Shout out to Dementia. He really wanted. I forgot what game it was. Anyway, Halo Wars 2. That's a really good game. If you haven't tried that out, it's a fantastic RTS for console. So give that a shot. Fable Anniversary. That's probably my most anticipated. I cannot wait. I haven't to this day gotten a chance to play the Anniversary Edition, so being able to play that now with the Game Pass, it can't get any better. I love it. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Awesome. Punk, I know you have Game Pass. I think your download list is long, right?
Dude, it's off the charts, dude. And like when we're doing the podcast, like I take my Ethernet cord into my laptop to make sure I have like good connection. So now it's just like crazy slow. Like the games are ridiculous. No, but man, the offerings are good. I played the first Halo, the Halo Wars, and I'm not even a Halo guy, but I just kind of like that over the top like shooter type mentality. I think those are fun, so that would be fun for me to pick up on. And then Darksiders, I mean, we all know the third one's coming out eventually sometime, who knows. And then like you said, Fable, I mean, I'm with you on that. Never played it, great chance to hop in, so I'm all in for that.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with Halo Wars 2 is I'm not a really big RTS guy, but the campaign and the cinematics in Halo Wars 2, and the bad guy in Halo Wars 2, Atriox, I think is his name.
Yeah, Atriox.
They need to get Atriox in Halo 6. I feel like he needs to be the big bad guy. I kind of, did myself a disservice and looked at the cutscenes before I even played the game. But they're really, really good. So I'm going to play through the campaign. I don't know how much multiplayer I'm going to do, but the offering this month, man, it's really good. I feel like it's a good addition. They make good rotations out. Shout out to Lazy Black Gamer. What up, homie? Thanks for stopping by. Fonz, do you have Game Pass yet? Or you're waiting for Sea of Thieves, your favorite game?
No. First of all, fuck Sea of Thieves. Look, Game Pass is awesome, but for me, a lot of these older games like Fable, the games that you guys mentioned today, I've played them before, and I don't usually go back and replay games. Once I'm done with them, I'm done. So, but the good thing about Game Pass for me is that there was a lot of games I didn't play last gen, so I got to play many games in there last year that were just awesome, like Dead Space. I never played that series, and I played it and I loved it, especially 1 and 2. It was just awesome. Too bad we will never get another Dead Space again, but that was great to be in Game Pass. So if you have it, play those games if you haven't. Fun fact, the only game I've ever played twice is Red Dead Redemption, the greatest game ever in my opinion. So that's the only game I've ever played twice.
Fraud.
Wow. Frazzarelli.
It's funny, dude. It's interesting, man. Some people hate the idea of playing old games. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're just like, "What's the point of having backwards compatibility?" Because it's old games, old textures, or old graphics. There's no point. But honestly, there's a ton of games that I missed out on, or I just didn't pick up last generation. And the backwards compatibility mixed with games with gold, mixed with Game Pass, I'm getting to feel, experience those things I kind of missed or overlooked.
There's a lot of hidden gems out there. I mean, because it's old, it doesn't matter. If you haven't played it, I mean, go and experience some of those games. I'm telling you, Dead Space isn't a great looker, but damn, that series is good.
That game still to this day gives me so much tension. Like, if there's one thing I did, because especially when I first got my 360, I was a massive achievement hunter, right? And going through Dead Space on the hardest difficulty, where you only had 3 saves throughout the entire game.
No.
I got so twitchy. Anybody I saw lying on the floor, I would shoot at, stomp at. Nothing did not have any limbs through any room I did not get. So any game I play to this day has me, whenever something's just sitting there, I'm just like, I don't trust that. Dead Space taught me better than this.
And there's one thing I want to mention too, is there's a lot of great indie games on Game Pass as well. Do not overlook indie games, people. If this generation has taught me nothing else, it's that indie games can be amazing. There's a lot of great indie games out there. So
and they're unique in their own right. Like, it's great to see this like huge kaleidoscope of people not needing to go through big publishers to have a game get so much notoriety. I mean, look at the powerhouse that's Minecraft. Minecraft was an idea that came out years ago, and look at it, 144 million copies because of how big that game came out to be. Even PUBG was its own mod, and so many others that came to be because of it. Braid is still one of the top mods out there. Super Meat Boy is one of the best indies out there, and Ed McMillan is still making all sorts of unique games in that style.
Yeah.
It's true, man. If you're sleeping on indies, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's for sure. Because there's a lot of gems out there, and I foresee, if you looked at the E3 sizzle reel, there's a lot of good indies coming out, man. Ashen is one of them. That's a really hyped up indie game, and
Ashen looks really interesting.
Ashen,
and what's that other one? Plague, the one where you're the girl with the little brother trying to survive through the Black Plague back in the day. Like, that one looks really cool and dark as well.
Yeah, that one looks like it's going to take a really strong emotional churn, and I think we do need more of that. I don't know if you remember that game, that Dragon Cancer. That one, so many emotions, such a good. That genre is widely overlooked. So I'm excited for that one.
Like, again with that, because that's one of those games that are a game, but it's an experience too. Like, a lot of people hate on like walking simulators and stuff, but the thing is, they try to convey a story as an experience, and it's really great. That's why a lot of people really liked what was that game, Firewatch, when that came out. And it had its interactive stuff that you could do that could change the story, but it was an experience in itself, and it was really good. A lot of people overlook that because they're like, oh, walking simulator, it's dumb. Look at Gone Home. Everyone has loved Gone Home. And same with what's left of Edith Finch. Everyone who's played that, who were like skeptical about it, is blown away at the story and the feelings that they have at the end of that.
That is one of my games of the year last year, honestly. It was tied with Cuphead for me for game of the year.
Yeah. See, so Jay Fonz knows what he's talking about right there, because he was probably one of those people that might have been skeptical at first.
Yeah, the Edith Finch game, I've heard so many people talk about it. Fonz has been talking about it. I feel like I need to buy that game. It's not necessarily my kind of game, but I feel like so many people have said so many good things about it. I feel like I could have a good experience. What do you think, chat? Do you think I should pick that game up? We'll see. Anyway, Game Pass is good this month. That game Rhyme, has anybody played it? I saw really good things about it. It looks intriguing to me. Anybody pick that up yet?
No.
No, I
No,
have
not
yet to
yet.
play it, but I the few people who I know that have played it has said that it's really great, and it has. I've been wanting to play it for a while since it launched.
Yeah.
So now is a good time to get into it.
Yeah, man. These games that I like, if you don't feel like the price tag's worth trying it out, Game Pass is a perfect thing for you. Because you can, you pay the monthly fee and you get all these games. One thing that isn't good though, I just got a data cap on Cox Internet here in the Valley, so
Oof.
I'm for sure going over data caps and hitting higher prices. So that's the price you pay when you're a gamer and you just want to play everything, right? So that's one of the things that people kind of skim over, because a lot of people don't have data caps, but when you do, if you hit that data cap, they can slow your internet speeds down or charge you more. Shout out to Jay Fonzarelli, the panel member, who's hitting that super chat up, that $2 super chat. All of that.
Hey, I got to shout out Randall Thor because, guys, it's funny because we were just talking about Edith Finch, and Randall Thor is the one that gave me a code to Edith Finch. And thanks to him, I got to play that wonderful game last year. It was awesome.
So when we're in parties, you're kind of you're trying to get on the board for game sharing with Rand. How's that working out for you?
Not good, but Rand's my boy still. Me and him. If anything should happen, Rand, to your game sharing buddy, I'm there for you, buddy.
It's funny. I hear that a lot, and then hitting up Phil Spencer for that party invite.
Yeah, still trying to get him to come to the party chats. We've talked once before, but I just think that he's not feeling you guys. That's why he's not joining.
Yeah, it's us. It's not you.
Yeah,
it's
you
us.
guys. It's you guys. There's
I
too many
apologize.
in the room. So
I apologize about that. Yeah, shout out to Rand. What up? How's it going? So anyway, let's talk about the games with gold real quick, and then we'll move on to the juice, the meat and the potatoes, the juicy topics of the night. Games with gold, man. It's kind of whatever, but the one game I'm looking forward to is Shadow Warrior. It has a MSRP of $29.99. Shadow Warrior is kind of a combination of like a Doom style with you get hack and slash, and the main character's kind of witty, talk shit. My friend got me interested in this game, and I almost pulled the trigger multiple times when they had these game sales, because it's been on sale multiple times. But luckily, I didn't. This game is definitely one you should pick up. Assassin's Creed Chronicles India is the other Xbox One offering. I'm not down with this type of game. I like the regular Assassin's Creeds, but this is kind of a different type, right? How can someone explain it? It's a 2D, right? Is it 2D? It's not
2.5D.
Yeah, 2.5.
You can go back and forth between the foreground and the background.
Yeah, so not my thing. Split second for Xbox 360 looks. The graphics look horrible. I'm just gonna be honest, but it looks fun. And then Crazy Taxi, man, talk about nostalgia. That game was my jam back in the day. So I'm excited to let my daughter try that out. How do you guys feel about these games? Are you gonna pick any of them up?
Trash.
I can see myself playing Crazy Taxi for about like 3 to 5 rounds and then probably never playing it again.
There you go.
Like, man, this was fun.
Taxi,
Damn, this is
Crazy
also
Taxi
terrible.
is one of those arcade games that's literally for the arcade. It's like how you pass time real quickly. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Crazy Taxi. I remember playing it at like the arcades and like little pizza places when you're waiting for stuff or just trying to pass the time.
Quarters at the bowling alley.
Exactly, quarters at the bowling alley.
Yeah, that's right.
But like Shadow Warrior is definitely a game that definitely should be played. As you mentioned, it has that Doom feel, because most people don't realize that it was made by id or as a competitor with id Tech back in the day during the rise of like Doom and Duke Nukem way back then. So it has that same first person kind of feel, and it's been around just as long. So I was glad to see that all those old games from that generation making their comeback, with Doom and then with Shadow Warrior. And then of course, the other big one that just recently came out, what was it, that Oh, with Wolfenstein and all them making their resurgence. You know, Duke Nukem's still kind of, yeah, he's not doing so hot right now.
No, that guy has become irrelevant. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Hey,
There's
Duke
no
Nukem, they're making a movie, right, with John Cena or something?
Yeah,
John
they're supposed to
Cena.
be
Not
talking,
exactly.
and I think John Cena would be perfect to play him. But it's just like, man, as an icon for the games, there ain't much of a king to hail to now.
Seriously.
Pretty much.
And his name is John
I
Cena.
don't think you'll be able to see him though.
But you know what? I will say though, for back in its day, Split Second was a great game. It was.
It was a very unique driver, especially with that with the fact that you could change up the course to try and mess up other drivers. I thought that was really cool. That's why I loved that game and got it actually when it launched,
and
because it was really fun.
I think Crazy Taxi for me just has that nostalgic feeling because I remember playing that on the Dreamcast back in the day. So,
Oh man,
yeah, Dreamcast is still my favorite all-time console.
The Dreamcast. That's the only I didn't really get the Dreamcast, I'll be honest, but
Man, you missed out.
Crazy Taxi, man. I remember playing that in the arcade, dude. That was my jam. Like, go to Peter Piper Pizza and play that. Forget about it.
Yeah, it's funny.
it.
My wife, who is nowhere near anything of a gamer, played a lot of Crazy Taxi when she was younger. So I'm hoping that that's something that she'll look at and be.
those were the
into
days
again.
before you could run over the citizens, you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you guys have Game Pass, check out those games that we talked about in Xbox Games with Gold. It doesn't do it for some people. Like Predator said, he's going to save the bandwidth. You know, if that's your thing, you can do that too. If you have a data cap like me, be sure to not download them. To each their own, right? So on to the next topic.
We're just going to totally gloss over the fact that Punk came in sounding like the American Psycho with "Those were the days when we were able to run over pedestrians."
Hey, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's right. You know
How
when
did
you
that
could
go
do it in
straight up?
GTA, like this is amazing, even though it sounds completely effed up, but we know
It's
we
just
all
the
did it.
delivery, brother. It was like,
Hey, man, I'm
those
up more
were the
tempo last
days.
time. I was tired last podcast, you know. I'm in it tonight.
Those were the days when we ran over people with cars.
Yeah, it's great.
It got me into video games. So yeah, pick them up if you want them. If not, we'll judge you. Not too much. But anyway, on to the next topic. Sea of Thieves beta, closed beta.
Jeez.
Let's talk about it, dude.
We'll just leave Fonz out of this one.
Uh-oh.
I want to hear from Fonz. I want to increase his villainous status within
Before
the
he
community.
starts,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
trigger
Just
warning to
everybody-
all of you in the chat.
Yeah.
Hit mute.
I'll
No.
be very polite. Okay. Look, I just gotta say the game is not for me. However, I understand that some of you people out there really like this game, or really like the potential in this game, I should say, because the beta as it stands, and that's what I was really getting at on RDX, as it stands in the beta, there's not really much to do. I mean, you look for treasure and you know you're sailing, and it's got great I heard great sailing mechanics and stuff. That's fantastic. If you like boating, if you like to boat in in video games and stuff, that's awesome. If you like that, I heard the combat is shitty though, and as it stands, so at this present time with the beta, I just don't see what all the fuss is about. But if you're one of those people that like what you see now and see the potential in it in the future, I am not shitting on you. I am not hating on you. You can love it all you want, and I won't say you're wrong because that's your opinion. We all have our opinions, and my opinion is that the game sucks as it stands. It just does not look fun. It does not interest me whatsoever. I understand the social aspect, but one thing I was trying to bring up on Loot Chest Radio and also on RDX was the fact that I think with a lot of these social games, they're focusing too much on that social aspect, and game mechanics, just bare bone, just the game mechanics itself is taking a hit. And I think you see that with the combat system in this game. I don't know. I think
we can agree on that.
I think they need to really work on certain things in the game, and I haven't even played it. I have to preface that too. I have not played it, guys, so don't shoot me for saying that. But I watched a lot of my friends play this game. I was laughing at them having fun and you know, throwing vomit on each other and doing all kinds of stupid stuff. But they were having a great time with it. But it was because it had that social aspect. To me, it just seemed like they would have had a great time just being in party chat together playing anything. They could have been playing separate games and just having a great time and talking and doing the stuff that they were doing. The game itself just wasn't appealing to me. And so I am biased against water-based games like this, boating games. I hate ship battles. That's why I didn't like Assassin's Creed Origins when they forced you to do that. Or Black Flag. But the game itself, if you like it, hey, that's cool. I have nothing against anybody that likes the game. It's just for me, when I say it's shit, I'm talking about it for me. I'm not saying that you guys must think the same thing. I just don't see a lot going for it. That's all.
Yeah, see, and that's something that there's a couple points you hit there that I have to agree with and that I have agreed with on.
I just want to say one thing real quick, because people were getting on me about this too. People were saying that because I kept saying that this is a kids game or whatnot. I don't mean it's a kids game. What I mean by it is that kids will play this game. A lot of kids out there will love this game, and I can see that. I think more kids out there will love this game than adults. That is what I believe. But I'm not saying adults shouldn't play the game. I'm not saying it's a kids game. Adults shouldn't play it. That's not what I'm getting at. I have to make that clear.
It's true.
Great. Thanks for clarifying. What I was saying was just to kind of snowball from that last point. A lot of kids will play it because they will see those same kids are going to be watching their favorite streamers doing this, because Sea of Thieves, in my opinion, is a streamer game. That's it. That's a game that so many streamers are going to be streaming. Yeah, exactly. It's a streamer's delight. I tweeted this out the other day, and I meant it. That's the core of the game right there. Is it's going to be streamer because it's so socially made and socially, generated. Everything about it has got that social aspect. But if you're going to go in solo, as someone who's been in the technical alpha, since day one, it's a very tough sell for a solo player, for someone who's just new to Xbox, who's just picked up their brand new Xbox One X. They're coming home. They have Sea of Thieves on Game Pass. They download it. They have no friends. They're not going to really get involved with it until they develop some friendships on Xbox Live. That's my opinion. That's what I foresee. And that's nothing against the game. It's just the way that it's made. It's made with that intention. You're going to play with your friends. And, as far as it being a beta and not everything's released, what's coming, the implementations of all the data mining and all that stuff, it remains to be seen. But for right now, I can't legitimately tell you guys that I'm going to be playing day one. I might jump in a week or two later. If any of you guys are on or anybody else hits me up and says, hey, let's jump in. All right, fine. But I will not actively make that decision myself. I can't foresee myself doing that.
Rand, I will say that I would play with Phil Spencer. Yes, I would play Sea of Thieves with him. And you.
Who wouldn't?
And you.
Yeah, seriously. I'd play just about anything with Phil. So, Bloody, what do you think of the beta? Did you try it out? Did you have the pleasure?
I did. And like natives, I was in the technical alpha since Gamescom, after they first started sending out invites and stuff for that. And I had fun with it because even when I was playing by myself and didn't have anyone that I knew in the alpha at the time, I did a lot of the matchmaking and really had fun with the people that I was meeting there, because as J Fonz did put out, it is a very social game. It is a very heavily socially based game, and that aspect. Sometimes that's not going to appeal to people who don't have already established friendships with people that they game with. However, I still think that when you're playing a game like that, where there's a lot of communication and just jovial nature, I think even if you go in by yourself and jump on a 4-man crew, you'll still have fun with it. Like when I was playing with my roommates, who I got into the beta when they were doing the final invitations at the end of December. When we were going around, literally we spent 2 hours just kind of driving around in the middle of the ocean, just playing music and just laughing as we were just doing whatever craziness that we could find. It was fun. Like nothing was better than just randomly shooting people out of a cannon at random spots to see if we can nail them from whatever distance that we could while everyone is drunk. Like it does have a lot of that socialness to where you can just do whatever there's the treasure hunting, which is fun, to trying to figure out the islands and go and solve the riddles and all that. But at the same time, it is really one of those things that is a make your own adventure. It is the definition of a make your own adventure kind of game. And not everyone doesn't like having those preset objectives. I personally found it fun because you can literally do whatever you want. And I just spent the entire time talking nautically as possible in a pirate accent. And my friends got so overbeared with it that they were groaning every time I started talking too much.
Well, that's another thing too. There's no real narrative here. It's not a story driven game. It's just basically like, hey, go here, do that, and that's why I don't think it has legs, honestly.
Yeah. And if I could just interject for 1 second, just to point this out, and I think I can safely speak for Fonz and for you as well, Bloody. Just because we have our just because criticisms are put out there, just because we're saying, as for me, I'm not going to be the type to tell you I'm going to play it every single day or anything like that. That doesn't necessarily mean that we want to see it fail, that we don't believe in its success. That's not, I don't think any of us would ever really say that, because we do want, I personally do want Rare to succeed. I want to see Rare make its back to its golden era, with Conker's Bad Fur Day and all those games. I would love to see that, and I'm excited for it. But criticisms are criticisms.
And everyone's criticisms have their own merit in their own way, as because it's coming from the person who's giving those criticisms and how they feel and what they experience in the game. And that's the one thing that everyone has to kind of gotten away from, is they take reviews and criticisms as the end all be all, as the absolute, that no one comes up with their own thoughts anymore. Just because a game has a 96 on Metacritic or whatever that you're going to follow doesn't mean that it's going to be a game for you. That just means that everyone who played it has enjoyed it for what it is. So
I have to back Native up though, because that is one thing that was coming up too in the comments of RDX when I was going off on Sea of Thieves. They were saying that stuff to me about me wanting to see it fail. I never once said I want to see it fail. Matter of fact, I said that this game is going to do very well on Game Pass. I think it's going to do very well amongst a lot of kids and some adults. The game is going to do very well there. But I was just speaking opinions based, on what I personally think on the game. That's all.
And that's where I'm getting to, is that it's your opinion. That's how you feel about the game. People shouldn't take that as that you want them to fail.
Anybody who wants to see a game fail or a company fail is ridiculous. If you're a real gamer, you do not want to see other companies fail and stuff. The more companies we have out there, the more games we have out there, the better. Don't wish failure on stuff. That's not the right course of action, because you're just a misguided fool if you really think that that's the way to go.
Exactly. And I think the game, I want it to succeed. I know I'm personally going to be enjoying it, and I want it to succeed because, one, in its own right, it is a unique styled game on what Rare's trying to accomplish, and I think that it will do well. Whether in Game Pass or, as we've seen, it's been selling well on Amazon, maybe not other retailers, but we know that it is garnered a lot of interest, and I want them to do well with it. I want it to do the numbers. I want to see what updates and more that they put into this, because it is definitely showing that it is a passionate project. But anyone who is taking anyone's criticisms on the game who isn't interested as a wanting them to fail is definitely not someone who's helping the community or the industry, because having that kind of negativity towards any company, it doesn't matter if it's Sony, Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, Rare, Santa Monica Studios, or anything like that. It doesn't matter how you feel about the game. You always want to succeed, because the more people that are out there, the more they're driving the industry, because they're innovating in their own way, and each of those innovations push everything further, because it helps create competition and a variety. Because if everything was the same, nothing would be fun.
It's true. Hold that thought real quick. This is going to be a quick commercial break for Super Chat. Got to pay the bills. Michael Chiricello, I screwed your name up last time, but I won't this time. $20 Super Chat. Hit that like button and share it. Let's hit 40 likes. We're 2 away. Make sure you smash that like button and slap it around like it owes you money. Let's get Punk's thought on Sea of Thieves. I know you had a chance to participate in it. What are your thoughts, my friend?
Like I said, I play with you guys, and it's also not my type of game, but I did give it a shot. And like Fonz was saying, it is definitely bare bones. And I mean, what else can you really ask for a game like this? If it's not for you, it's not for you. I know Fonz was getting a bunch of crap for saying that he didn't like it, but they're saying he couldn't judge it because he didn't play it. I mean, isn't that why we watch videos and stuff? I mean, we all watch videos of any game that's coming out, and you already know I'm getting that, or I'm not getting that. That's not for me. So I just wanted to back you up right there, man, because I saw you getting that BS. And
I watched it, I watched hours of gameplay because my buddies were playing. I was laughing my ass off because the stuff they were doing, and I wasn't laughing at the game. I was laughing at them because they didn't know what they were doing. And the sailing aspect is really intricate. Like, you have to catch the wind a certain way. It's really like a sailing sim. And that aspect, I could see some people having fun with it, if they're into it. But for me, it's just not for me.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed, I mean, we played that beta, and it was we played that one night, but I can honestly tell you, none of us has been back to the beta. Well, at least I don't know if you have by yourself, Salty, but we've already kind of moved on and tried other stuff because there just isn't enough there to pull us in. And yes, it is a beta, so we have to just keep that in mind and not judge it too soon.
Agreed with the fact that it's a beta, but you also got to think too is that what we got in the beta was what they refined, at least for us, throughout the technical alphas, especially me and Native having played it as long, is that the beta was very cleaned up from what we first had in the technical alphas, and I'm glad to see what they did. They did make some small removals. They removed one of the other factions, but we do know that there's supposed to be 3 that they've already announced, but there's supposed to be 2 more, I believe I heard about. But there's definitely going to be a lot more. So definitely, just even if you're still on the fence about it, keep an eye on it. Even if it's not you, enjoy it, watch people enjoy it. Just give it its own chance. Even if you're not going to play it, still support them. Support people who are enjoying it.
Yeah, we all play games that other people hate, isn't that right?
Yeah.
So I was talking about some of my thoughts on BRAP podcast. Shout out to Enrique if he's still here. We talked about Sea of Thieves, and some of the things that I had kind of, it's not an issue. It is an issue. Okay. So there's one enemy type. It's a skeleton. They don't really look different, and they don't drop anything when you shoot them. That's a big problem for me, because in these games that you don't really have much of a story. If you only have one enemy type, it's going to get really repetitive and boring. I know that they data mined some of the stuff and found a kraken and a mermaid. Those were under the enemy types, but that just isn't enough for me. Hopefully they didn't find all the enemy types, because that just isn't enough.
Oh, I don't think that was what they found in the beta is going to be accurate, because they said the same thing if you look at, especially at Destiny, when they data mined a lot of that during the beta, that not everything that they found in there was actually what was in the finished product. I know that Rare themselves have stated there are going to be more varied enemy types, and that they are going to have large creatures in the sea. They did state that they were going to have a giant kraken that'll attack the ship, and they did tease that they were going to have a giant whale, kind of like Moby Dick, but they haven't stated much else. And I like what they have stated and what they've been teasing, but we definitely need to see more. Like, I want them to really go on a big show right before launch. Like, it's great that everyone got to play the beta and that it got a lot of attention. Now, with full launch only, a month and a half away, once it gets closer, do an extravaganza, show everything or as much as you can, leave the hidden goodies that you want people to really experience. But blast as much as they can out there to really show, hey, there's a lot more in here than what people were thinking.
It's true. And I think it's good. It's a good sign that on Twitch and Mixer, this game retained top 5 status for most viewed, with audiences throughout the whole beta. Because if it was the first day and it was #1, and then it kind of dropped down to like, 20 or something, then you would kind of say, well, people were interested into it, and then they saw it, and then they stopped watching, or they didn't want to come back. But this game retained its status for the duration of the beta, and I think this shows very good, signs and predictions of the future, because when analysts are looking at the health of a game, they often look at Twitch and see the interactions with the audience and how high up a game is. Destiny 2 is a good example of a game that is lower than it was statistically when Destiny 1 came out, and it's showing with the game dying. So I think it's good signs. It's good that people are actually talking about an Xbox One exclusive. That's good. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, then it's not. But
yeah, and I'm gonna, when it's on Game Pass, I'll have Game Pass anyway. I'll jump in there a game or two with you guys and stuff just to fuck around. But it's not a game for me. I won't be playing it. Like, we got to go play that, guys.
So, does anybody else have anything to say before we move on to the next topic?
Nah.
Okay. So, breaking news today, Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a small little indie game. It got an official release date for October. And I know this is a juicy story for you, Fonz, because it's probably arguably one of your favorite franchises of all time. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so
Red Dead Redemption is my favorite game of all time, brother. Red Dead Redemption is my game, my favorite game. Yes. Okay. Followed closely by The Last of Us, but Red Dead takes the cake for me.
Okay. So it was rumored that this game was going to be dropping in June. I talked about those rumors, and I was kind of hoping it was going to happen because, as you guys know, the summer is kind of a dry period for video games and, for gamers in general, because, games just don't really come out at that time. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, man, I hope it comes out in June, because it'd hold me over for the summer. But the announcement was made. It's coming out at the end of October. My page isn't loading. I'll get that specific date. But the thing that I want to bring up here is, are you guys happy with that October release date? And another thing that was revealed was Anthem was delayed, but EA talked about that they're going to be releasing another Battlefield in October. So essentially, these games are going to be competing with one another. So let's talk about it. Are you guys happy about this Red Dead release date? Are you going to be picking the game up? Let's start with Punk.
Oh man, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate because I did not play the first one. So let me hear it, Fonz.
No, you ain't gonna get hate for that, man. So many people I know have not played the first one, or they started it and weren't feeling it and didn't finish it. Like, I respect other people's opinions. If you don't like the game, that's fine. Like, people are giving me shit about saying I love Red Dead Redemption. They're like, "Oh, that game is trash." It's like, dude, it's an opinion. Okay, get over it.
Yeah, yeah,
for real.
But let me say, Battlefield coming out and the whole Anthem thing. I know Anthem, I did call that. I mean, EA just has too much riding on that game with the hype. The hype's still there, even with all the concerns. So I called that, but I'm glad that's delayed because I'm all down for anything being better by the time it comes out. And Battlefield coming out, that was kind of a shocker. It's almost like they needed something in replacement real quick, so they announced it. So I did find that kind of funny. Red Dead, again, I mean, it doesn't really bother me that it got delayed just because it's not something I'm like super hyped for, but I probably will want to picking it up.
Yeah, just to let you guys know that, sorry about the date, my webpage didn't load.
The 22nd, right?
October 26th, 2018. So set your calendars for that. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed again, because Rockstar does delay their games a lot. So,
but I have noticed I have been picking up games, just because, playing with all you guys, and it's a lot of fun. So, I'm all about gaming, and I'll give anything a shot these days.
Oh yeah, I think you got to be open minded, because
you do, absolutely. I'm not going in with hate. That's another thing. Let me make that clear. Like, I don't hate it. I never played it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and take the next point. Is I'm excited for it. Like the first Red Dead, when I played it, it blew my mind. One, they really captured that era, that era's time beautifully well, like from the locations and everything, from the fact that we were first seeing industrialization in the US, when they first started bringing trains in, and a dying age, the Wild West was truly going out. That kind of style was not being handled around anymore. It told a phenomenal story and really showed that off well, from the way that you would do train robberies, rob stagecoaches, go in, bandit style, bandana on, and shoot up a town and then just ride out. No one knows who you are. Like, it was a phenomenal game for what it did, and it still holds up pretty well. The shooting mechanics were fairly well for what it was at the time. Definitely could use an update to it, and I think that's really what they're going to be working on now with this, with Red Dead 2. But as Jayfon said, if people aren't into it, they're not into it. Rockstar makes one set of games, and that's open world games, and they do it well.
And quality.
Yeah. It holds up. Their quality and the amount of work that goes into each of the worlds has held up across all their games, from what we saw in Grand Theft Auto 3 and San Andreas and Vice City for those eras, and then what we saw with 4 and 5, and now with Red Dead, and then what we're going to see with Red Dead 2. Like, if you look at the screenshots, it's just a mind-bogglingly beautiful game.
I think, just like with, me not liking certain things about Sea of Thieves, like boating and all that, like I'm not into that in real life. So, a lot of what we do in our real life
carries over.
It carries over to these video games. And I'm really into hiking and nature and all that. And Red Dead Redemption, the setting, just that vast, big open land and everything, and
just you and a horse,
pretty much go anywhere and just like camp out, overnight in the woods or whatever. I'm into that kind of stuff. So when it came to this game, there was times I was out there and I was just like riding my horse through a lonely desert, or up in the mountains, and I'll stop and just listen to all the sights and sounds. It was just a beautiful game, and the music in that game is just
something else,
captivating. Like, you'll go into one section and music will start coming in, and it just fits what you're doing at that time, and it was just beautifully done. This game, honestly, guys, if you have not played through this game, you need to play through it. Try it.
Absolutely. And the writing was solid for it.
Yeah,
it really was.
The story was amazing. The music is amazing. For its time, the graphics were amazing, and it still holds up. I mean, it really does.
It's one of those things that surprisingly is the better part, is that the visuals, though you can tell that they're a little older, still hold up phenomenally well.
I think I'll say this: if Red Dead 2 is half as good as the first one, I will be very happy. And what I did today is, when I was told, Enrique told me through a DM, he said, "Hey, Red Dead was just, the release date was just dropped." And I woke up and I saw it, and I was still groggy, and I'm looking at the date, and I'm like, October 26th. And I look it up, it's a Friday. And I'm like, immediately, the first thing I did was call my boss. And I said, hey, I need to take off the 28th, that week after Red Dead comes out, because I'll be off. I work nights. So I'll be off Friday morning on the 26th, and I will be just shutting everybody off from the world. I will be shutting myself away and just playing this game, diving into it and experiencing what Rockstar is going to give us. Because every time they've given me a game that I've played, I've never been disappointed by Rockstar. Yep. Never.
Yeah.
And that is the God's honest truth. I think that them delaying it to October, I don't care if they delay it till 2019. Sure, a little bit of me will be bummed that I can't play it. But the thing is when they deliver a game, they usually deliver it on point. You know,
it's quality. It's always a
I'm
quality
fine with that.
thing.
It's
I'm fine with
exactly.
I just want to point out the true sign of a gamer. If you take off time to play a game for an extended period of time from work, you're a true gamer. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
That's the adult life.
that's
That
the
adult
true
life.
sign, man. The adult life taking off for a video game with a huge launch, man. That is awesome.
But
And
it's a good thing that it finally got it. Honestly, it's a good thing that it finally got a date. Like that's something that we need, and I'm glad that they put it out this far ahead because so there's a lot of games that have time frames or no clear date, and they're getting them very shortly. Like what we just saw recently with God of War. All we had known for months was spring 2018, and just at last week we finally got it's coming out in April. Only 2 months ahead of time that they said something. So I'm glad that they put out a good solid date, because Rockstar, when they put out a solid date, it's because they're comfortable with it. They'll typically give time frames or kind of those kinds of things, but once they set a date, there's been very few times where Rockstar has broken a date.
yeah, and I think Rockstar is just sending that warning flare out to all the other games out there. They're like, "Hey, we're dropping in October."
I do have to say, rest in peace, Battlefield.
Yeah, Battlefield. Battlefield will definitely still have its hardcore.
One
but
thing that
any
I wanted
big sales it was going to do, it's going to lose out. Anything coming out this holiday is immediately going to lose out to Red Dead. I think that's why they pushed out. I think that's why, honestly, they're a big reason why they pushed out Anthem, even though they're going to claim it wasn't a delay or anything like that, because they want to give Battlefield its shine in the holiday season, let Anthem pick up the spring, because they thought that Red Dead was going to come out spring to summer. Now that that it's coming out in the fall, right at holiday season, they're screwed. Like, honestly, they're screwed.
Native, what were you saying about Battlefield? Or
no, I just said rest in peace, Battlefield. I agreed with that. And another thing I wanted to say about Red Dead Redemption was I didn't really play too much of the base game, but what I did play a hell of a lot of was the Undead Nightmare. So if they can come out with something as complex as that, along with some of the characters and everything, the way they did it was so amazing. So that's what I'm going to be looking for, is what they can do with it, what else they're going to implement,
what craziness that they can take it in.
Exactly, what more can they do? So that's one thing that I always look at Rockstar with, is what kind of craziness are they going to implement? So that's more what I'm excited for.
Way out of left field, and it worked very well.
Yeah, like the screenshots from Red Dead 2 look amazing. I'm excited to see this game on the X with the enhancements. It's just gonna blow people's minds. It's gonna define that open world genre. The map size is supposed to be like 3 times as big as GTA 5. Don't quote me on that, but it's gonna be huge, and it's gonna be awesome. But as far as Battlefield goes, even if it's in a Vietnam time period, I think I feel like it's going to get swallowed up by this game, because how could it not, but it is kind of a different genre. It's a first-person shooter, so you'll have the hardcore audience out there. But as far as other games go, if you think about you drop in your video games in that time slot, you might want to push it back a little bit. So does anybody else have anything to say before we move on?
I just have to say it, Native, I'll say it to you, buddy. I know you haven't played the base game, but I would go back and do it, man, because I'm telling you, the music and everything about it just it engrosses you. It just pulls you in. It's an amazing ride, man.
It really does. Isn't it in Game Pass right now?
Yep. I'm not sure if it's in Game Pass. If it is, then I'll definitely download that, and I'll play some tonight. I think on the Xbox 360 I think I left off about 6 or 7 hours into it. So I got a good chunk of the story. I knew what was going on, but I just didn't stick with it because other games had come out, and it just really wasn't where I was at. I think that was around Modern Warfare 2 time, and I was big MLG Modern Warfare 2 gamer at that time. So that sucked up everything.
Yeah, I went back and started Red Dead again, and the graphics still hold up. Honestly, they look pretty good for a 360 game, So if you haven't checked it out, be sure to do that. Let's move on to the next topic. So the Q2 financial report for Xbox and Microsoft were released, And according to this data, Xbox is doing very well. The gaming division in general with Microsoft grew 8%, and that growth is attributed to certain things. The one thing that I wanted to point at, the Xbox division generated $3.9 billion in revenues during the company's Q2 of fiscal 2018. So here's the deal. A lot of the media, I don't believe in this media bias like completely. I think there's some bias out there, but a lot of people out there would have you believe that Microsoft isn't interested in gaming, and the Xbox division is getting slammed and it's not making money. Some people would have you believe that it's almost god near bankrupt, but these numbers are telling you how much money Xbox is actually making. 3.9 billion. That's with a B, right? So gaming revenue grew 8%. So that's driven by hardware sales. They don't actually make too much money on hardware, but they get, software is, prepackaged on the hardware. So what I'm trying to say is the X came out and they're making, all this money. I just want to say that never in a time period can I remember all three of the major big three being this healthy when it came to revenue and everything else like that. Nintendo has already outsold the numbers of the Wii U with the Switch. PlayStation 4 has sold over 70 million units. So let's talk about this. Are you guys surprised by these numbers for Xbox that they made $3.9 billion? Anybody jump in there?
No,
Yeah,
not at all. Honestly,
go for it.
You go ahead. You go ahead, Native.
I was just gonna say I'm not surprised by these numbers, only because the Xbox One X was something that it's the strongest power. It's the strongest console out there. People want that. People want that premium. The way that they marketed it, I think, was brilliant by saying this is a premium product. This is a premium console. That alone will bring in droves of people. So to see the numbers reflect that marketing, reflect the console itself, the hardware, the specs, all of that Digital Foundry stuff, I'm not surprised at all. I'm really, really happy for Microsoft, and I'm just glad that there's no, there's nothing negative to say about it. I mean, it's good numbers. They're good numbers. It's a great percentage to go off of. Any company that can boast, we grew 8% in this one area of this one division, this one sect of our giant billion-dollar company, it's a good thing. So I'm excited. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, a thing that I forgot to mention is Xbox Live monthly active users grew 7% to 59 million. Just to kind of point out the numbers, because Xbox doesn't really, Microsoft in general doesn't release numbers anymore, but it's estimated that there's about 35 million Xbox Ones out in the wild, maybe 40. So you're looking at a number of 59 million Xbox Live users. So that's where this money is getting generated. It's through services and in software, and the announcement of the Xbox Game Pass. Games as a service is the future, and there's a lot of people that might not like that idea or might fight against it, but it's the direction the industry is headed.
And you make a good point on that, and that's what I actually want to pull up here that I have a couple thoughts on. One, with the numbers that Microsoft was showing off, that's great, because 59 million active users on Xbox Live. That's across both the Xbox One and those who are still on 360, because some people still aren't ready to move up yet. We're slowly seeing that transition, especially with how accessible the Xbox One S is, and now with the X, we're seeing that we're slowly pulling in a lot of those people. But Microsoft and Xbox has always had a solid foundation for their services. Everything that Xbox Live encompasses has always been well built and well successful. So you're seeing those consistent active users because the ecosystem that it supports is phenomenal. You're not seeing those kinds of numbers on PSN, and that's not because Sony's bad or anything. It's their online infrastructure isn't solid yet. Like, they're just now getting a lot of things that we had for the past decade, even from the original Xbox back in 2006 before the launch of the 360. They just got, you know, group chats and stuff for games, and they're really starting to buckle down on that. But their network services doesn't have the best code. It's not solid. They're consistently down, and that's nothing against them. It's they need to work on the infrastructure. They don't have that built-in and group that's dedicated to networking like Microsoft had with Windows. You know, they had that to support a true system like Xbox already because they had the knowledge of building servers. That's great.
I got to point out something though, that those numbers do reflect silver membership as well, free membership as well. Yeah, it's not just gold. So they're not making money from 59 million users. A lot of those people, millions of those people are using it, you know, the silver free version. So
it's true. And that also encompasses, you know, the family accounts, you know, the family goal that they introduced. And that's still not a bad thing. Because if you
I just want to put the info out there.
We got to focus on the fact that, you know, PlayStation has like a 2-to-1 margin when it comes to hardware sales, but a lot of people have the misconception that hardware makes these companies money. It's not the case. A lot of the times they might even be taking a loss with the, you know, with the Xbox One X. I swear they're taking a slight loss on that console, the way it's built, but it's the software.
Well, Phil's even come out and said that they were taking a loss on it. Yeah. Even when they first put out the price and talked about it at E3 and Gamescom, some of his interviews, if you look at, he's even said that hardware isn't where the sales are.
Of course,
he says they're taking a loss, but he wanted to build a product that supports the software.
If any gamer out there thinks that consoles is what makes these company monies, you're just fooling yourselves. It's not the consoles, it's software and now services.
Yeah,
services
true. And
software.
I will say the first person to crack the Xbox One X to data mine for Bitcoin, that's where you'll see the price. That's where you'll see the hardware sales. That's crazy.
But here's the thing, that like I said, especially with Salty bringing up, you know, games as a service, they increased their profit and growth by 8%, nearly $4 billion. Part of that sales, part of that's their services. That's a great increase. That's showing that they have continued people who are supporting the ecosystem and the growth, and they want it to keep improving, and that's great. And with games as a service, that helps to push it because you're keeping people playing games for longer periods of time and keeping that interaction. PC's been doing it for years. People forget that a lot of big MMOs and things like that were the original games as a service. Look at WoW, look at, you know, EverQuest and all of those games. Those had those monthly subscription costs. Those were original services because they were live games, and they still are.
It's true, man. And look no further to the good old boys, Nintendo. If you guys didn't know, they're going to start charging for their online. So it's just the fact, man. It's just the way the industry is going. Yeah. It's a fact. And this isn't about the console war situation. I'm not bringing up PlayStation numbers because I'm trying to, you know, bash their numbers or whatever. I'm just trying to point out the fact that just because you see hardware sales, it's kind of like game sales or MPD. A lot of the times, people don't know the ins and outs of the business. Like, do you think Phil Spencer is worrying about MPDs like you are, or he's worrying about, you know, this and that? A lot of the times the numbers don't tell the whole story, because when you look at gross revenue for the two companies, they're pretty close, even with PlayStation having that 2-to-1 margin in hardware sales. And that points back to the infrastructure and the way that business is handled. I think there was like a 15% difference in revenue. And you give that to PlayStation, right? So the service situation and the games as a service is a real deal. That's the future. That's the way the industry is going. And the only reason I wanted to point these numbers out is because, like I said, there's a misconception that Xbox is dying, Xbox is struggling, Xbox is almost bankrupt, you know, RIP Xbox. No, it's not.
Yeah, to anyone who's thinking that is delusional in any sense, because they continue to grow well because of what they offer. Just because they have, you know, a year or two of bad first party exclusives, suddenly they need to throw it all out and saying, oh, they need to pack it in. No, a lot of the leftover exclusives that we got in the early generation were leftover deals from Don Matrick. So in 2013 to 2014 was when Phil took over. So he was getting the leftover stuff that was from him from before him, and then he had to make his own deals. That takes time, years out. So everything that was done around then is coming out now, you know, 2018, 2019, maybe some in 2020. That's when we're going to start seeing a lot of what he built, because when he came in, the first thing he wanted to do was help build the hardware, because what the Xbox One launched was not much better than what was already on the 360.
Yeah, and I've made this analogy before, like Coke and Pepsi, right? Coke's, you know, generally number one, but you think, you know, Pepsi's hanging their head when they come in second? Do you think they want to close up shop when they're raking in billions of dollars because they're coming in second? That doesn't matter, man. I mean, it does, because you want to be number one, you want to be the best, and with the way that Microsoft is changing them to some things, maybe with the next generation they will be number one. But it's interesting, to say the least. Does anybody else go ahead? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and with that, you know, it's a good analogy, because coming, you know, second, whatever, helps to humble them, because they stop focusing, you know, on trying to catch up or do anything. They focus on what they can do right now to improve what they have, and then let that turnaround speak for itself. When people think that just because you're not winning, that you have nothing to gain. No, when you're not winning, it means you need to double down, you know, look at what you're offering, what you can do to improve it, what you can give more out of it, so that way you can gain that attention. It's not a bad thing to not be having the numbers that, you know, PlayStation's doing. No, because what they're doing is they're building the services and systems that'll help improve Xbox as is now, for their fans that are who are already supporting them, as well as new consumers who might want to look at coming later. That's what it does. Because if it was the other way around, you know, Sony would be trying to do everything they can to improve that, as they should. When you're losing, it helps to push you to innovate and do more to improve on what you have. That's what people need to understand. This hate and vitriol, like toxicity on all sides, not just one or the other, on all sides, where if you don't support this company, then you're trash, that company that you're supporting is trash, and they need to disappear. No, if you do that, you're not a true gamer. You're not supporting the industry in any good way. You're just spitting, you know, venom. It doesn't help without having true conversations and discussions on what everyone can do around to improve.
It's true. So anybody else have anything to say on this topic? I do have a connecting topic for the last topic of the night. It's these huge rumors about Microsoft being interested in some huge companies. Let's just get into it. Basically, we've been talking about games as a service and the direction Microsoft is going. There's a rumor out there that was set in motion by Polygon, and it hasn't been refuted by Microsoft in all these days. Polygon author came out and said that Xbox had an exclusive problem and they needed to work on it. And basically he's saying that Microsoft has a cash pot of at least 130 billion, which was boosted by recent tax cuts by the government. So he was hinting to the fact that, you know, Microsoft is interested in purchasing EA, Valve, or PUBG Corp. Maybe one or two, or maybe all of them. He said he set these rumors in motion based off of an inside source. So let's get into these rumors, since we haven't talked about it. Fonz, I want to hear from you first. What do you think about these rumors, and do you think they have credibility, or like what's going on there?
You know, as they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And now, do I think that this is going to happen? Probably not. I don't think they're going to take over any of these companies. There's several reasons why. Looking into it, like Gabe Newell, who owns Valve, dislikes Microsoft a lot, and I don't think he'd sell out to him. Matter of fact, he's been on record as saying he would never sell to Microsoft in the past. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. EA, I just think it's too big of a risk. I think of course they have the money to buy them, but to recoup that money back, it would take some time. And sure, Microsoft could afford it, but I don't think it's going to happen. If it does, though, I will say that EA, I think a lot of things would change. I think, you got EA Access, for instance. They could implement that into Game Pass. So basically, when an EA game comes out, or a Microsoft published game, that used to be EA, will come out like 10 days early or whatever on Game Pass. So that would get people to come over to Game Pass, just to get those games a little early. But I think these games wouldn't be exclusive necessarily. I think all these games would go out to everybody out there on every console, like just as they are now. I mean, I don't think they would take these EA games and keep them for themselves, because Microsoft is in the business of making money. They just don't want to put it on their own platform. They don't want to keep it there anyway. So I think if they do, that's what would happen. I don't think the world would change in gaming. I think that we'd still get all those games on all the consoles, but there's little things like EA Access being implemented into Game Pass, things like that may happen. Then you may get you may get some different leadership there. Under EA, right now they've got so many problems with loot boxes and how they implemented them in, Star Wars and stuff. And I think maybe Microsoft could change that. Maybe they could, change EA's evil ways, so to speak.
Could help.
Could help. But I don't know. That's as far as I could really speculate on this whole thing. But I think that this just tells me one thing, that they are really serious about buying up other companies. And I do believe that this idea of purchasing these companies has been looked at and has been talked about within Microsoft, or this rumor would not be everywhere. So I do believe that if you can take away anything, it's that they are looking to buy other companies. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, the statement that you said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Honestly, there's this rumor back in the day. I saw it on social media. It was rumored that Microsoft was going to buy EA, and they came out immediately said, "Hey, we're not doing that." And up to this point, they haven't said anything. They haven't come out and denied it. I talked about the Gears 4 dev team, where people were, it was rumored that they were working on another game. Microsoft came out immediately and said, "Hey, that's not happening." So it's weird. It's weird they're not snuffing these rumors out, right? So
yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because I didn't even think about that. So that's a point well made.
And along with that, look at the whole rumors about Fable right now, with everything that Playground's doing, and everyone suggesting, hey, Playground's the one who's making the new Fable game, because they pulled in all these new devs for their new studio that has experience working on RPG systems and all this. Microsoft hasn't said, no, that's not true.
It's true. I mean, they tend to do this. So I think, like I said, I've said this multiple times, I think there's some big things that are going to go down. I don't know necessarily if it's going to be EA or whatever, but something's going to happen. Native, what's your thoughts, man? Like, what's going on in your brain?
Well, I had tweeted out a couple days ago that Microsoft is acquiring Steam, and they're going to call it Steamy Windows. It's going to be powered by the condensation gaming engine.
My God.
No, man. Yeah, right. No, I think it would be cool to see Microsoft picking up some new studios or reviving some old, EA killed off studios from the past, because that they've just loved to murder their studios. To see Microsoft go out there and just pick those up and kind of revive those and see what they can do with those dev teams or whoever they can. I think that'd be neat, and I think it would really help their first party problem that they have. I would like to see them pick up BioWare, if anything, from EA. I think that's the route that they should go, is pick up BioWare, revive BioWare, give them some new stuff to work with, allow them to have a little bit more creativity with what they wanted to do. And you're right, if they did pick up EA, that microtransaction process could be helped, because for one, I absolutely love the microtransactions in I love the microtransactions in Gears of War, because it's, what you're getting. You're not getting anything that's going to break the game. It's strictly cosmetic, and that's all cool with me. That's cool.
Yep. and that's still earnable in the game, you know, from the credits. The only ones that aren't is like the esports ones, but that's support.
That's
for those
something
teams.
completely different. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's supporting an esports organization, which if you don't, you should, because esports is still a baby and it still needs to grow. So you support your esport teams. But yeah, no, the acquisition of EA or Steam or Valve or any other thing, I mean, it's all speculation. The fact that Microsoft hasn't said anything could be because they don't want to discredit, Polygon. They don't want to discredit, Kotaku or whoever it is that's reporting on this stuff. They don't want to go out just discrediting everybody, because that would just hurt that industry. So I think that's why they haven't come out and just said, nope, that person's lying from that publication.
But at the same time, you got to look at the some of the journalists that a lot of them are like major opinion pieces, and they don't do a lot of work. There's a couple journalists who I give a lot of props to because of how much they do. Ches does get a lot of information with Windows Central and everything that he's done, as well as Jason Schreier. Jason Schreier really is in depth with the people that he talks to in his contacts and investigating, where everyone else is just like, oh, I'm just going to type as much of a clickbaity name and just make it as bad as it is. It does have to have that balance of people who are legitimately going into and trying to get as much information for these pieces, as well as having their fair amount of opinions based on those facts.
Yeah, I kind of take this whole thing with a huge grain of salt, and I just kind of chop it up with the fact that this might have just been like a wish list type publication. This was a wish list article. That's kind of how I'm looking at it.
I don't know, man. He said he had inside sources, so
everybody has inside sources.
And that's as Salty did say, there haven't been any come out discrediting or saying no, this isn't true or anything like that.
I think that the article closely stated something closer along the lines of like a close friend to an inside source or something like that. So you never know what that's about. And
it's like secondhand information.
It's like a damn telephone game. You hear it from one person. By the time it gets to the bottom, it's a completely different story. So you just got to be real careful with that. As far as people banking on it and saying, "Oh, it's going to be a done deal," I mean, come on, stop it.
We definitely want to wait until we get a little bit more information. But for my thoughts on it, if it does have some credibility to it all, PUBG Corp would be the biggest thing that they really should go after. PUBG itself is a phenomenon. They went after Minecraft, and Phil helped push that, and Satya Nadella greenlit that when he came into, because he talked about how Phil wanted to do it years ahead of time, but Steve Ballmer and them said no. So when they saw the growth of what Minecraft turned into, they saw how much more it was worth. Yeah. And we're still seeing it sell nowadays. PUBG is still selling and doing numbers. It would be stupid not to here's
the problem with PUBG though. Here's the problem with acquiring PUBG. Right now it's in early access, and they're getting $30 a pop for this game. By the time this game comes out of early access, which could be 6 months, could be a year, could be longer, okay? And in that time, they should still be exclusive to Xbox anyway. I mean, we could say maybe a year, okay? But by that time it comes out and goes, out in the public, and it's done. The game is finished. I believe that it could be kind of on its way out as being the going trend in video games.
So the one thing you have to look at that to back that up with is Ark. I mean, Ark started off with a huge base, and now that it was released, it was kind of those things where it's like, okay.
But also, I think Ark also ran into a lot of controversies within their own, from the lawsuit that made them lose out on a significant amount of money for funding. So that's why they had to put out an early DLC that was supposed to be for after launch, and that caused a lot of backlash. And then when the game full launched, they doubled the price of it.
If they could get them cheap right now, I'd say go for it. But if it's going to cost them a lot of money, I'd say hold off and just wait till this whole exclusive thing is done and see where they're at then, see what the numbers look like. Because I'm telling you, trends fall off all the time in gaming. And
you're not wrong on that.
This is just one big trend right now. And I don't know what this is going to be like in a year's time, you know.
But,
Fonz,
well,
we-
on the
and-
Xbox.
but you got to think too that it already hit its 1.0 update on PC, so it did reach its quote unquote full release, but it hasn't fully officially come out of early access. And there's still the talks on the fact that they can put it out on PlayStation because PlayStation is still interested in it.
We have to remember that the fact of the matter is Microsoft's had a history of not locking up things when they should have. They actually could have acquired Minecraft at like a ridiculously amount lower than they actually did,
Like a couple $100 million to compare it to 2.2 billion.
Yeah, but that window with PUBG is closing. You know, in my opinion, I think the window.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what they said about Minecraft, and Minecraft is still a juggernaut even to this day.
It's true.
It's a different animal, though. I mean, that appeals to a lot of kids, and let's face it, you know, Roblox gets a lot of play too. But
not Minecraft
like
numbers.
You said,
Minecraft numbers is like what 74 million concurrent. You know, so the thing is like you got to take risks in this industry, especially with Minecraft. Microsoft. They need to take a risk. It would be a risk to acquire PUBG and all that, but they need to do it. It's been a while since they actually got and acquired a studio and took that risk, right? When's the last time that they actually acquired a studio?
Here's the problem I have with Bluehole. Bluehole to me is they're not a very good studio. They have this game which is sort of a phenomenon right now, but it's poorly optimized. These devs are not very talented, it seems. But
think about this. So they've had some help, yes, but not fully dedicated as much as they would be if they were within the Microsoft ranks. They would have full access to everything Microsoft does. Like they've been giving help, but they wouldn't have that dedicated help.
I'm kind of bitter with Bluehole because I think that with all the money they've made so far, just based on the PC sales, they're not doing much with it. Yeah,
no. I think that you're kind of overstating a lot of what it is, because the fact of the matter is they have a PC side that they need to get updates out to, right? And they stated specifically when they were trying to, they knew specifically they could not get this game to consoles because they didn't have the knowledge base, right? Microsoft came up and they gave them engineers and they gave them all these resources to get it on console. And if you look at the frequency of these updates, it's second to none, right?
I see it, but what I'm saying is even on PC, it's poorly optimized. That's my point.
I do agree with the fact that they do seem like right now at this point in time they seem like a one-trick pony, and that isn't something that I think Microsoft would fully invest in. Minecraft is, like you said, Fonz, it's a different beast because you have so many different licensing deals that you can do with Minecraft.
You
can't put Star Wars into PUBG. It's not going to happen.
Here's what I would do. I would buy them out, take PUBG, and just get rid of all of Bluehole and just put my own better devs on this game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they're going specifically the talks is specifically about PUBG Corp, the dedicated people who are focused solely on PUBG, not the rest of Bluehole, but specifically PUBG Corp.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think that would be the better deal, is that they take that part who's dedicated to working on that and then give their own developers the help and assistance to really optimize it. Because look at what everything that Microsoft Studios has done between all engines. They can help if they need to rebuild the engine, because think about it too. PUBG started out as another what was it? Counter-Strike mod or Arma mod?
It was Arma. So
was it Arma? Yeah. And we've seen a few games come from the Arma engine that don't get optimized. Look at DayZ. DayZ's been basically an alpha for years, and I doubt that game's ever coming, and that still is poorly optimized.
You know, but you know, Xbox said I'm being ruthless, you know, and I'm speaking about Bluehole, but I'm being honest. They've made so much money off this game. You'd think they'd put it back into the game and
no, I agree.
I agree. They should have done something more with it.
But here's the thing. Yeah. But here's the thing. PS Sandow made a great point earlier. He said somebody's going to come along and take this genre and make it a lot better than PUBG, and that will happen, guys.
Yes,
somebody else is going to do it a lot
and
better.
We're seeing that though. Look at Fortnite. Fortnite did its own spin, and it's still very, very much enjoyed.
Yeah, as much as Fortnite looks cartoony and stuff, and it's more, dumbed down, I would say,
It
compared
runs
to PUBG,
better.
it runs so good, man.
Yeah,
like
but
and not only that,
honestly.
it has its own unique with the building aspect of it.
Yep.
It works in its own way, and that's what they need to do. Is they need to double down on what they're doing and optimize it to compete. Yes, any game that does big is always going to have so many clones and spin-offs that all try to do their own thing.
I think Microsoft can strike while the iron's hot. I still think this game has legs. I still think that you could put it on multiple platforms. Hell, they're talking about putting it on the Switch, right? So
right now,
dear God.
This is my final prediction on this whole thing with Microsoft's gonna buy PUBG Corp. They're gonna take their dev team. They're gonna scrap whoever they need to scrap, and they're gonna make every Microsoft first party exclusive with a battle royale mode. That's it.
Well, with EA, with the acquisition of EA, like that would be great because of the studios that EA has. PopCap had a long-standing history with Microsoft and EA's partnership with them from the Peter Moore era, which is why I think that the EA acquisition makes sense, because what Andrew Wilson's doing right now is not helping EA for the better. And if you watched that investors call meeting, dude, is slimy as can be.
Let's just talk about the scope of EA, right?
Yeah.
EA, like I've talked about in my videos, they're the #1 third-party publisher in the United States.
They are,
okay,
and
they're worth
$35
billion. The fact of the matter is if this went through with EA, it'd be akin to the Disney acquisition of Fox. It's on that scope, right? Yeah. When people saw, the possibility of Disney acquiring Fox, they're like, man, there's no way in hell that's happening, right?
And
Fox
yeah, Fox is
too big, right? And it goes through. So that's what I'm saying. Like if, an acquisition of this level went through, it would be on that level. It's that big.
And here's what they could do with it. One, a lot of the top execs at EA gotta go. Honestly, they need to cut it out. The studios they have all have a history with Xbox and Microsoft. BioWare did KOTOR as an exclusive for the Xbox way back in the day. Mass Effect 1 and the whole Mass Effect series was supposed to be exclusive to Xbox alone. That's why the first one was exclusive. The second one went multi-plat because EA wanted that money. But what did it do? It took them forever to get the first game out on PlayStation until they did the trilogy set for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think if they were to acquire EA, I don't think that they would make those big games exclusive.
No. I agree. There's certain games that they would still keep multi-plat. Definitely, they're gonna keep putting out like all the sports games. Some of the PopCaps games. I still think Dragon Age will be multi-plat. But think about the exclusivities that they can get and do with their own studios. I still think they would take some games, as well as the fact.
Bring back Titanfall exclusively.
Yeah. Peter Thornton.
I don't think so.
Peter Thornton.
I don't think it would happen. I was just saying.
They can get rid of the EA access. They can get rid of EA access and put everything in.
Go ahead.
All right. So Peter Thornton. I just want to respond to you, man. So he's saying stop this EA BS. It's not going to happen. Why waste time talking about it? Here's the deal. Just like I was saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. Yes, it seems like the percentage, right? If I was going to put a percentage on it, I would probably put it at 1%, right, of actually happening. Yeah. But like I said, Microsoft is pushing this year. They're pushing forward towards things. With Matt Booty, that hired him, put him in Phil's spot. Phil got promoted. He's on the board. Satya Nadella, he's talking about, making games, gaming at the forefront of Microsoft. It's not an imagination thing. What we're talking about, what I'm saying? Some people would see this as a waste of time, but it's not. There's something that's going to happen, okay? If it's not EA, it's not EA. It's going to be.
It could be Epic. It could be Epic.
It could be Epic or Bethesda. There's so many other possibilities that they could. Heck, even they could, if they want a good group that has some fairly good IPs under their belt, as well as a lot of new upcoming things. Look at THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic was a small publisher that took up most of what was left over from THQ, then incorporated their logo into their name and picked up so many of their leftover IPs that are big. Darksiders they picked up, as well as a couple others. The only thing that they didn't get, which was the big names that everyone wanted, which was Saints Row and can't think of the other THQ ones that were sold off. But it's happened with quite a few people in the company or across the industry. So this right here is not a bad thing. Yeah, some people say monopoly is bad. However, the fact is that one, they can help push a lot. It's not necessarily a bad thing because, like I said, one, they can get rid of a lot of the top heads that are causing the bad decisions at EA. They can establish someone else who's in the same position as Matt Booty over there to oversee the EA studios. So then you have Microsoft's first party studios and everyone talking to Matt Booty. You have someone over there on EA side talking to all the studios and they report to him. Then both of those heads can talk to Phil and they can see everything that's going on. It's about knowing the right structure on how it could all work together.
So the thing that we need to focus on is, even if it's not EA, the fact of the matter is like, if you saw Microsoft and Xbox in like a small little picture, them closing studios down like Lionhead, canceling games, people say they're penny pinching, right? They have a small budget, they don't care about gaming, they're trying to get out of the console business. If you see these little crumbs left behind in the statements stated by the executives, specifically Phil Spencer, if they make a big acquisition, of which they will, for along the lines of what we're talking about, it just shows that they're committed to gaming, and that's a good thing. That's why we're focusing on stuff like this.
Yeah.
So
with Spencer gaining a seat at the grown-up table, I mean, that's
it's good to see Microsoft making noise. I mean, that's what we've been waiting for, correct?
There you go, Punk.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what we're all here about, man. Like, to see all the movement within the company with Matt Booty and Phil moving up, and now he's talking about the open wallet. Like, this is what we've been waiting for forever. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and wait for some good stuff to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have all this situation going on than closures of studios, delayed games, cancellations, all that other
getting
stuff.
old.
So
I don't think, PSN down, he says he wishes another corporation like Google would get into the gaming business. They already are, but that's in like mobile and stuff. But regardless, I don't think that we really have room for more competitors in the console scene. I really don't. I think that it's already saturated with the three we have.
And you're not wrong, because look at what happened before when we had Sega in it.
Yep.
Sega was not doing hot. We had Atari as well, who was trying to do a lot. We had so many consoles at one time that some of those phased out, and others adapted and were able to make the change with the times.
A lot of people were like making that distinction, or that correlation between what Sega had done and what Microsoft is doing this gen, but it's completely different. Microsoft may be in second or in some people's minds third place with Switch and everything, but here's the thing, they're making money, guys. That's the bottom line. Sega was not making money back then. Microsoft has learned that there's other ways of making money within the business. They know that services and software is the way to go if you really want the big bucks. And that's the route they're taking. I've said it a million times before. You will see Xbox on other devices. Game Pass one day, I believe, will be on other devices. We're going to have they're working on their streaming service. They're working on several things. You're going to
they already stated that Xbox Play Anywhere games, any Play Anywhere titles that are in Game Pass work on PC as it is now.
Yeah, but my whole point is Xbox is going nowhere. You're still going to have the brand. If anything, all of this is going to strengthen the Xbox brand. So all the fanboys and stuff that are upset and they're pissed off about, if they do something like that, they put their stuff on other devices, you should be embracing it, because they put all that revenue they'll be generating back into the games, back to us, the gamer. It's a great thing, guys.
Exactly. And they're going to have a dedicated platform no matter what. They're always going to have their built-in hardware
There you go.
that supports their stuff. But
Yep.
the fact is, more people get to enjoy that content. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing about exclusivity that people forget is that sometimes those exclusive games get lost to time because of the fact that they're stuck on a platform. And even with some emulators, they can't always keep them up or be able to replicate those. Look at Metal Gear Solid 4, probably one of my all-time favorite games from the PS3. Cannot be played anywhere else except for the PS3. They don't have a true Blu-ray player in the PS4. They cannot emulate their own software to play backwards compatible games. It is not in their streaming service. They won't bring that game over to Xbox, and Konami won't do another big HD collection of Metal Gear. That game is locked to the PS3. That's the problem sometimes with exclusive games that people forget.
So you guys.
Oh no, that was it.
Sorry about that. It got really quiet. I thought
Yeah,
I
it sounded like you
crashed.
cut out. Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I thought so. I thought so too. I thought you
So
were waiting on me to
anyway,
say something.
you guys just have to look no further than the deal that Microsoft made with Samsung. I believe that the Xbox Game Pass will end up on TVs, and it will, like, kind of, through the cloud and those streaming services and stuff like that. And I personally don't think it will ever end up on PlayStation or Nintendo, but you might, the thing is,
It'll
I think
definitely branch out more to other devices.
Yes.
It may not
other
necessarily be on other
devices.
consoles, but I still definitely see them pushing the PC, because we already know that they want to, as well as other places.
Think
However,
about
they need to fix their store and how it's all set up.
I don't know that they have cloud services and stuff. They'll be able to use the Game Pass services through their streaming service on tablets and phones and all kinds of stuff. And TVs, they'll be doing stuff like that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But that's who knows when, 2-3 years, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we can't predict that, but that's the future. And the fact of the matter is, I think the only people that get caught up in this whole, like, oh, it's a console, we have to be focused on the Xbox exclusively. You can't put any of our games on PC. It's just like, those are the fanboys. Like, I think I don't care if my game's on PC, even if I don't play it on PC. I'm still getting it on Xbox. I don't care.
And again, it's an option. People fail to see that they're giving you options on what to do with your stuff. They're not always remaking everything every 2 to 3 years for the next generation. They're giving you a way to carry over your already existent library, as well as ways to play it and more opportunities. Like Astroneer is a fun little Anywhere title that's also in early access. I bought that with my roommate who I game share with. I went back to my hometown to visit my family, and I was talking with him through the Xbox app on my PC and said, "Hey, you want to play this game?" He said, like, "Sure." So I was able to play it on my PC while he's at home on his Xbox, and we're talking through the computer because I had that Xbox app with that party chat. That's an awesome option that I can't carry my Xbox with me all the time. That's what people fail to see, is that they're giving you options and more variety on how to interact with the ecosystem and your friends.
That's exactly Phil's vision when he talks about this stuff in interviews. That's how he talks of games as a service. He wants to put it out there for people, and he loves options. And his whole stance on how he doesn't like taking third-party exclusives and stuff, or he didn't. I really believe that he truly wants to see Xbox everywhere. He wants everybody to experience their games no matter what. Now, those games could be experienced, let's say, even if it's cloud-based or whatever, on some tablet or some 720p or whatever. It's not the greatest place to play. However, they'll have their own console out there for the best place to play Xbox games at their greatest potential. And that's still going to be a thing. Xbox is still going to be in the console game. But consoles is not how they make their money. So many people put that emphasis on consoles too much. I think they focus on the consoles.
Agreed.
I think it's very, very narrow-minded and obtuse thinking to just say that consoles are what making exactly, and it's not. It's exactly what you guys are saying, and I'm just going to reiterate it. The games as a service, that's where it's heading. I mean, I can't scream loud enough about ecosystem. That key word means so much. It packs such a powerful punch because people aren't looking at that. Microsoft has been building this ecosystem for a few years now, and it's flown just slightly under the radar, and then Play Anywhere comes out. Boom, the first instance of, look, we actually have this ecosystem that we've been building. Everything is talking to one another. All your devices are talking nonstop.
And they're
so
working.
For the ability for them to and are working perfectly. I mean, yeah, there might be some glitches here and there, but for the most part, nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is doing this. I can't see anything. I mean, Google coming in would only boost that, I believe. It would create that games as a service, or I'll call it the cloud race.
Yeah,
that would instance that. That would generate enough boost for Microsoft to say, all right, let's go full force into this.
Exactly.
That's what I'm hoping for.
And I think that if Google were to enter that, it would be as a publisher and as a service. I doubt that they would do a console. One that would just it wouldn't help support in any way. But if they were to support the software, that's the big thing. And I think that's where they should go if they do go into it.
That's their bread and butter is software. So
yeah,
that's what makes the most sense.
Yeah, and as you put it, man, Microsoft is still going to support their dedicated platform, their console, but they're going to put their stuff everywhere. But it's always going to run better on their platform that they've built because they know that it's dedicated to them. That's why you see something like the X. That's where it's the best thing to play all their stuff. However, you could still play it anywhere that you want.
I just think it's the best course of action for Microsoft.
It's true.
It is. And it's not a bad thing. People fail to see that games as a service isn't a bad thing because that's become such the big hot word or whatever the trigger word for everyone that games as a service is a bad thing. No, it's been around for a while, and you see it in games. Anything that gets post content after the main game, such as any expansion or anything that's even single player story games, you get a DLC or expansion to that. That's still technically a game as a service because you're getting more to do after the main game.
So
that's service.
Natives coining the term cloud race. That sounds like something Nintendo's coming out with. But anyway, I feel like we beat this topic into the ground. It was an awesome discussion. It's been an awesome podcast. I mean, come on, guys. This was impromptu. 50 people watching live. I mean, let's hit that 50 mark for the likes. It's been an awesome podcast. So without further ado, we're going to hit those outros. Man, we were on fire tonight. Thank you to everybody in the chat. I cannot state it enough. I love when we have gaming conversation that's just as on fire in the chat as it is on the panel. So I appreciate all of you guys. Like I said, you're keeping it salty and I love it. So without further ado, let's do these outros. Let's start with our special guest. Thank you so much for coming on, Bloody Knuckles. What's up, man? Where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Bloody Knuckles, of course, as well as on Saturday in the early afternoons and some evenings. You can find me on the Smash Podcast, where it's your little cornerstone for all things nerdy. Comics, movies, games, anime, whatever you want, we're always talking about it. And of course, you can also find me on Wednesday nights on the Vibration Podcast or on GRG sometimes.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for coming on. I love hearing your takes, man.
Educated and
well organized, bro. Jay Fonzarelli, where can people find you?
Well, in a couple hours, they can find me at work, but actually, they can find me at Jay They can find me at Jay Fonzarelli here on YouTube and Twitter and Loot Chest Radio as well. Check it out. It's my podcast, drops every Sunday. No specific time, just every Sunday. It'll be out there either on my channel or on the Loot Chest channel on YouTube and on iTunes and everywhere podcasts are. So that's it.
you guys definitely needed to check out Loot Chest Radio. It's a full production recorded show, super high quality. Check it out if you haven't. Do yourself a favor. You won't regret it. Irrelevant Native, where can people find you?
You can find me here every Sunday, except for today, every Sunday night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Saltiest Gaming Podcast. You can also find me on Xbox at Irrelevant Native. It's my gamer tag, and at Twitter on the same, Irrelevant Native. So it's been a blast, man. Thank you, Bloody Knuckles, for the conversations, man. It's been real. And again,
no.
just to reiterate, check out Loot Chest Radio. It's definitely worth the watch.
Definitely. But again, thank y'all for having me out here. It was such an honor to be invited.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again for sure. Punk, where can people find you?
You guys can find me obviously here every Sunday at 8 or Thursday if we ever switch it up again. On Twitter at Punkadish Gaming. Love talking to you guys. I try to stay as active as I can. And then on Xbox, just Punkadish, man. If you guys want to send me friend requests or want to play some games, I'm always down.
Awesome. All right, well, I guess it's me, Saltiest Gaming. You're on the channel. At least I hope you are, because I don't have these on iTunes or anything. I just came out with a couple videos today, basically about what we talked about today. So, you can watch those. I talked about a Super Bowl ring that it's Xbox, has the Xbox logo. It's worth $10,000. You can enter to win that. I do Xbox content, Xbox oriented stuff, but today I did a video on the Red Dead news and Battlefield stuff. So the channel's growing, it's evolving. I have some things in mind that I'm going to be trying to get out there. I appreciate all of you guys. Like I said, it's Trip how fast this channel is growing, and I appreciate all the love and support from the community. And it's just from the bottom of my heart. I love doing this. I'm passionate about it. All of us are, as you can tell when we talk about this stuff. So it's an amazing thing to be able to talk about it with all you guys and share these experiences. Shout out to Nick Fury. He put a video out today. He's our Nintendork, or however you say it. He's at work, grinding away. So that's why he couldn't make it. So anyway, without further ado, like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay salty, my friends.